Hey guys, it's Dreadnought, and everybody's been playing the new and exciting Apex Legends. But have you ever picked up an attachment or upgrade and wonder, wait, what's the difference between a legendary barrel stabilizer and the epic one I just had? Is that better than having a stock? What if I have a different gun? Is that still true, or would I rather have the stock in this situation? There are a lot of attachments, and even more confusion I feel surrounding the weapon improvements in Apex Legends, and today we're going to be debunking some of that and hopefully having you feeling like you have a solid understanding of Apex Legends weapon attachments. What are they? What do they do? And how good are they with each rarity? We'll be comparing them side by side and really finding out how good the attachment upgrades can be. Let's get to it. If you already feel like you know what the attachments are and what they do, the testing side of things for the video starts at 7 minutes and 27 seconds. Feel free to skip there and start seeing some of the cross comparisons and the results of the tests. Otherwise, at the beginning of every segment, you will find a lower third that will pop up and give the timing at which the testing starts for the attachment segment you are currently viewing. We're going to be working our way through the attachments from left to right as you would see them on the weapon. So first things we got to start off with is the barrel stabilizer. The barrel stabilizer will reduce recoil of your weapon when it is firing and is very beneficial for accuracy. Probably to no surprise, the barrel stabilizer is going to help limit the spray deviation you will have on your weapon while it is firing, especially when you are spraying all at one time. All weapon classes, but the shotguns, have access to a barrel stabilizer, but not all weapons in each class are able to use this attachment. In pistols, only the RE45 Auto has access, and SMGs, both the R99 and the Alternator. For assault rifles, you have the 301 Carbine and the Hemlock. For the LMGs, both the Spitfire and the Devotion, and lastly for snipers, the G7 Scout and the Longbow. But if you are shotgun enthusiasts and sad to hear your shotgun does not have access to a barrel stabilizer, don't worry, they have access to the shotgun bolt. The shotgun bolt increases the rate of fire for the shotgun weapon class. I've read and seen a lot of rumors that it does more than that and that it's supposed to somehow impact the reload speed of the shotguns, but it does not. We'll be testing and showing this later in the video on the testing side of things for the shotgun bolt, and taking a closer look at some of the impacts of the latest nerf that has happened with the shotgun bolts for the Peacekeeper. Next up for the attachments, we have the magazine upgrades. The magazine upgrades will increase the amount of bullets you have available per magazine, and drastically increase your kill potential per weapon. Light weapons use light mags and heavy weapons use heavy mags, but the energy weapons do not have access to the increased magazine size. Them, along with the shotguns. At first, I thought this was just a flat percentage ammo increase across the board and that each weapon had equal improvement with each upgrade. But this is anything but the case. Each weapon has its own magazine upgrade value, which we'll be diving into a little bit more on the testing side of things. Beyond this, the magazine upgrades actually improve your reload speed as well, but only if you have a rarity greater than common. The common magazines will only improve your ammo capacity. As we keep moving down the line, we come to the optics. There are three types of optics within Apex Legends: hollow optics, HCOG optics, and sniper optics. For hollow optics, it is a circle with a dot in the middle, whereas the HCOG is more of a box with a standardized red dot that a lot of players are used to. The trade-off between the two, though, are that the hollow optics goes at a 1x to a 1x 2x variable, and then also has access to the legendary digital threat. While the HCOG only has a 1x and then a constant 2x, but has the opportunity to move into higher scaling like a 3x or a 2x 4x variable scope. That being said, neither one of those upper tier scopes out of the HCOG have the opportunity to be applied to a pistol like a Wingman or a P2020. But for those of you who like to try to keep a bit of distance while you're engaging with your opponents, we have the sniper optics. They can only be attached to weapons within the sniper class of the game, meaning the triple take, the longbow, and the scout. There's a 6x sniper scope, a 4x 8x variable, and then the legendary 4x 10x digital sniper threat. Both the legendary optics provide you a bright red highlighted outline of your opponents when aiming down your sights and will allow you to see them easier, especially when looking through Bangalore smokes. Talking about snipers, we now find ourselves at the stock. And for the stock, like we saw with the optics, the snipers have their own category. Most LMGs, SMGs, snipers, and assault rifles have access to the stock attachment, but some of the lighter one-handed weapons fail to have this piece. The stock, both in snipers and in standard stocks, will decrease the amount of sway you have in your scope while aiming down sights, and it will drastically help you when looking for that precision shot at a longer range. All aspects of the weapon attachments improve your play in Apex Legends, but if you need a quick one-liner and as a way to be able to think about these attachments, you can break it down like this. The barrel stabilizer, it helps you shoot things and keep the spray at a minimal. The shotgun choke is going to help you do the same. The magazines are going to allow you to shoot more bullets and reload more bullets so you can throw more at your opponents. The scopes are going to make sure that those bullets are actually pointed at people. And the stocks are going to make sure that those crosshairs stop wailing around. So again, you can make sure you are pointing at heads. But lastly, you find yourself at the hop-ups. The hop-ups are special attachments that are only usable on specific weapons and each have their own huge impact on how a gun feels and plays out. The special attachments are, number 1, a skull piercer, 2, the precision choke, 3, the select fire precision, and 4, the turbocharger. The skull piercer is only available for the longbow and the wingman, and it is going to drastically increase the amount of headshot damage that you have with these weapons. The precision choke is only available on the triple take in the Peacekeeper, and what it does is a bit more complex. It allows you to aim down the sights and it will charge up your weapon and make sure that the spread on the pellets is actually a lot smaller at a longer range, allowing you to essentially have a railgun kind of factor and put a huge burst on targets at a much farther range than you traditionally would with these weapons. And next up is the select fire precision. The select fire precision allows some weapons that would typically only have one firing mode to now have two. Those weapons are the Prowler and the Havoc. The Prowler has the option to go from a 5-round burst into full auto, making it much deadlier at the closer ranges. And for the Havoc, it creates a railgun mode which allows you to use 5 ammo and shoot all at once into a single burst after a short charge duration. But this is not the only hop-up that we can attach to a Havoc. It's actually the only gun in the game that has access to 2 different hop-ups at once, the other being the turbocharger. The turbocharger will help remove some of the winding up the gun has to do before it finds itself at max firing rate. The other gun that you can also apply the turbocharger to that makes it suddenly so much more deadly is going to be the LMG energy weapon on the Devotion. Now that we know what the attachments are and what they do, it's time to figure out just how good are they with each rarity. And just as we did before, we'll be moving from left to right down the weapon, so we're going to start things off with a barrel stabilizer. First thing to note is that the barrel stabilizer is actually the only legendary attachment available other than the digital threat optics. Here we're going to take a look at a naked R301 spray against the wall just to get ourselves a bit of a baseline. Full clip. If we slow it down, we can really see the biggest pull of the R301 recoil comes from its first about 5 opening shots, and then it finds a way to stabilize itself on the back half of its magazine. Each weapon has its own spray pattern, and some are far more complex than others, but for the R301, it's a rather straightforward kind of rise into very little movement from left to right after that point. But now it's time to see what the stabilizers do to this pattern. From left to right, we are looking at no stabilizer, a common stabilizer, a rare stabilizer, the epic stabilizer, and the legendary stabilizer. We can see that the opening 5-round kick is heavily limited by the stabilizers with each rarity increase, but it doesn't have much of an impact on the lesser movement later in the magazine. This is something that I plan to test out a bit more with some of the other weapons, but for now I feel it indicates a percentage improvement on the weapon recoil, giving it a greater impact on weapons with more intense spray patterns, something like the Spitfire, Devotion, or R99. Now we move on to shotgun chokes, and as we said earlier, the Peacekeeper has been nerfed when it comes to the weapon chokes, and we will see that closely after we test out the EVA 8. I've read and seen a lot of rumors when it comes to the bolts and the impact they have on the shotgun, saying it's both firing rate and reload rate, so we're going to just go ahead and test both. Starting with the base firing rate, and then we'll be moving up in quality of attachments with each clip. With no attachments, the EVA 8 takes 3.48 seconds to completely unload. With an uncommon choke, we see roughly a half-second increase, landing at 3.05 seconds a mag. For the rare quality attachment, it takes 2.7 seconds in order to unload a whole clip. And now lastly, for the Epic. The highest quality choke possible, the EVA 8 finds itself at a 2.55 second unload time for all 8 shots. That leaves it at nearly a 1 second faster firing rate than what you see when it has no attachment whatsoever. But when we look at the bolt's impact on a Peacekeeper, it has much less of an impact post-nerf. At no attachments, the Peacekeeper unloads 6 shots at 5.86 seconds. For the uncommon bolt, we move over to 5.56 seconds for all 6 shots. With rare, we find the Peacekeeper at 5.416 second rate of fire. And lastly, the Epic provides the Peacekeeper with 5.183 seconds to completely unload the weapon. Comparing a Peacekeeper with no attachment and the level 3 bolt side by side, we can see that we roughly gain a 3/4 second rate of fire advantage with the Epic attachment. This is the nerf that we saw in the last patch coming to light. Before the nerf, the firing rate of the Peacekeeper with other bolts was much quicker. Now to look at the reload rate. This is a place I found a lot of misinformation on whether or not the bolts actually impacted the reload rate, so I figured we would just test it here and clear the water. The answer is that the bolts have 0 impact on both the Peacekeeper and the EVA 8's ability to reload. Though the shotgun bolts may not impact the reload speed of the shotguns, the magazine upgrades do directly impact the reload speeds as long as they're above an uncommon rarity. It should be noted that most weapons have 2 reload animations, one for when you have ammo in the mag, and the other for when you are completely empty. The empty animation takes longer than the other, making it more beneficial for you not to use your whole mag, and that makes magazine upgrades that much more valuable. Side by side, we can see that the magazines increase the reload speeds of the weapons by quite a bit. For the R301, the Epic improves the reload by roughly 0.4 of a second. And for the Hemlock, we can see it's about a 1/4 second improvement on the reload. In a skirmish with multiple reloads, those magazine reload times really begin to add up. But as I said before, each weapon has their own value for each magazine upgrade. I've gone through and collected them for each weapon and have put them into a spreadsheet. If you'd like to look at the numbers for yourself, you can go ahead and find a link to the sheet in the description of the video. Otherwise, just pause and look at the numbers now. Coming into the stocks now, we will again be testing what they have to offer to the sway and the aim down sight speeds of the weapon side by side, starting with no stock, an uncommon, a rare, and an epic. Note the decrease in movement of the epic versus no attachment here, as we speed it up and loop it to exaggerate some of the differences. You are currently watching the footage at a 3 times multiplier of what it would be in real time. But the stocks do not only help the sway on our barrel while we're looking down sights, they also improve the speed at which we aim down our sights. We can see that here with more slowed down footage of the stocks side by side. But the stocks have a counterpart in the sniper, and the sniper stocks only demonstrate these strengths at a greater magnitude. They still improve the ADS speed and the sway of the scope, but due to the nature and range of snipers, they appear to have the biggest impact of almost all the attachments in Apex Legends. We can see that here based on the improvement of the epic versus no sniper stock. The difference in sway is colossal and very impactful when looking for the perfect headshot. The improvements do not stop at the sway. They also show on the ADS speeds. The standard stocks seem to only have a few frames of improvement between epic and no stock, whereas with the sniper, it seems to have doubled. Though the sniper stocks seem to take the crown on weapon impact when looking at standard attachments, they fall short when looking at the outliers known as the hop-ups. The first hop-up we look at is the precision choke, usable on both the triple take and the Peacekeeper. Earlier in the video, we discussed how they can improve the range of these weapons, but I wanted to highlight just how impactful they can be. We will shoot the box both with a charged hop-up and a normal shot, and look at the pellet spread difference. Pellets highlighted here are the ones from the normal shot. Notice how even at a close to mid-range how spread the pellets are. But when we look at the precision choke shot, we will see that they all overlap with each other and allow for much more accurate of a shot at a bigger distance. We will demonstrate this once more with a mid-range shot to a rock, and notice how even then the pellet spread is significantly tighter than the normal shot at a much more standardized shotgun range. The rest of the hop-ups are a bit more straightforward. The Skull Piercer is a 2.5 multiplier to headshots for the longbow, rather than the standard 2x multiplier we see for most weapons. But when it's applied to the Wingman, it is a bit weaker after the last nerf, moving it down to a 2.25 multiplier on headshots for the pistol. The Select Fire allows you to move the Prowler and the Havoc into different firing modes, but I felt like they were more suited for a weapons testing video than in the attachments video. If you would like to see more like these, please go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. And last for the hop-ups, we have the Turbocharger. Again, it will remove the windup of the Devotion and the Havoc. And for these as well, I felt like they sat more on the side of gun review than they did more on the attachment side of things. But I'd be willing to make another video just covering the hop-ups if you guys make it clear that that's what you would like to see next. And if you made it this far, I would just like to say thank you. This is my first edited video that I put together, and I'm confident that it will not be my last. It has taken a lot of time, but at the end, it's something that I am pretty proud of. I'm hoping to get a more normal schedule when looking towards my YouTube, but if you want to support me and more content like this, please like and subscribe, and know that you can catch more Dreadnought action and analysis like this on my stream 5 days a week at twitch.tv/dreadnought_heroes, which I will leave a link in the description down below. Thank you all for watching, and as always, go fast and take chances.